Hey, what's up everybody? So in this video, I actually want to do something a little bit different. In the past few videos, I've essentially just been doing the what and the how, but in this series, I actually want to go into the who. I really want to delve into the people that made competitive trials what it is today, and essentially what made up not just the past, but at least what I've seen of the past, especially my perspective on them specifically. And just to make it so that there was a way to kind of immortalize their reputation and their history, especially just from the eyes of someone who has competed with, against, and like during their prime, as well as during the time that they were actually relatively active in Dauntless, especially when it comes to posting content as well as just competing in general. So I'd really like to delve into that. And in this episode, I feel like it's going to be pretty special. And I want to touch on three people specifically. These three people are 30, Nemo, and Environ 5. Now, it's kind of crazy, right? Because these three names are kind of juggernauts in the trials scene. And when you think about it, it's kind of crazy to think how far it's been, or how long it's been, since they last competed, like actually. And it's funny because I remember it vividly. I'll give you a little bit of a story. When I was starting up trials with Riven and us two were trying to grab randos off of official, try and make do with what we've got essentially on a Koshai week, we were implementing strats that were just kind of ass. It wasn't working. We were kind of not exactly in the best understanding of the game. We were kind of newbie and kind of scrubs, so we were implementing some random ass strats like +6 Aetheric attunement and frenzy freaking Pangar Lantern spam in hopes that the core damage would make up for our lack of understanding. Well, it didn't because I think we placed like 80th. But it's really cool because during that entire sequence of us struggling, I decided to go out of my way to reach out to 30. I didn't really expect much because I knew that essentially his team was at the top of their game, and it wouldn't really make sense for him to go out and about and just reply to this random guy who decided to reach out to him out of the blue asking for some help with strats. I did my best to word it in a very respectful, professional way, though, and I think that ended up paying off because he actually responded to me. He gave me a lot more insight than I ever expected from a top player. And it was actually awesome because I'm really appreciative even today of him being able to go out of his way to do that for me. I remember one of the cool things that made that experience so much better as well was that 30 didn't just give the answer straight forward. He legitimately gave hints and like specific aspects that made their runs the way it did, but didn't give like the full answer. So he'd still prompt us to figure it out ourselves, but he gave us small snippets of it just to make sense of it all. I remember one of the things that I thought was really cool was him being able to understand the back end configuration of how the code worked with the game, and in turn understand that specific user inputs weren't exactly working well with connecting or interacting with the server, so it led to inconsistent Pangar Lantern activations leading to less core damage efficiency. And I remember him talking a little bit about that, and it was really cool because I understood it considering I came from, or I was coming from, a computer science, information systems, and technology background, so I could kind of understand the ping response and this response system in regards to network and all that. So it was really cool for him to actually delve deeper because I actually ended up asking a few more questions afterwards, and the guy was very receptive to, I guess, me. I never expected it, but I was very thankful. And it's interesting because, well, I didn't really understand the depth of their genius in with in regard to theorycraft and their ability to dominate during one of the craziest and most competitive peaks Dauntless Trials has ever seen, right? Until I actually got to a point where I competed against them. When I finally made it my way to a team that actually was vying for top one, it was crazy seeing it all. It was crazy seeing them do their thing. It was crazy going against them and just trying to figure out how the fuck do we compete against this? How do we beat them this week? It's gonna be hard, but we can figure it out. Hell yeah. And it was cool because them already having that experience, them already being at that level meant competition was bound to be high. Like no matter what. And it's cool because they were that dominant during a peak or during a time when there were multiple prime trials teams that had literally super rosters. From Kaki's team to my team to Beta's team to Veslo's team, Veselvani, no Extend, and like a lot of other ones. And despite many times it being like a super ultra sweaty competitive set of like week strings and months, 30's team always seemed to put themselves out there as the team to beat. It was kind of that vibe. Considering they were the most veteran, I believe, out of everybody else because they did way more during that time, especially with solo placements and group placements in tandem, and the consistency of it all, and the fact that they also smack talked a lot and they were trolling. But that's cool. I love the fact that they did that because it also riled people up and made them really want to compete. So it contributed greatly, but incredibly, like positively, to ensuring that the competition of trials would be full throttle for a good chunk of the weeks that we competed. It was so fun back then. And I gotta chalk it up to 30 Nemo Envy and usually their fourth, where it'd be Center Porpy or whoever I'm missing, right? Those guys really, really put it out there. And it's funny because when you look at their videos and you look at their stats, it may not seem like it, but that's the thing. Context matters here. Those guys brought it every week. Those guys were so good. Innovation was at its peak. They were popping off during a meta or during an era where everyone was trying to figure out innovative strats. And they seemed to always get it first. Not always, but like for the most part, or like consistently enough for them to actually be to be that oppressive force. Kind of like a Dark Souls boss in a way, but not entirely. You know what I mean? Because there were still many times where Kaki's team would dominate, Beta's team would dominate, my team would dominate, and there would be strings between all four of us, all four of our teams, where we'd constantly essentially be neck to neck and be at each other's throats, and we're just going super freaking hard trying to beat everybody else. One of the most fun parts of trials was legitimately getting to the point where all four of our teams, were so freaking good that we're all like equal standings now, and we're literally just going crazy, going so hard at competition, and it's like, ah, who's better? We'll see. And then like top one to top five will be so close, and it would be all the different teams, and it would be awesome. But honestly, just looking at 30 Nemo and Envy, that team in itself, just that trio, it's a super squad. Envy being the analytical mathematician, researcher, whatever, right? And at the same time, being an execution specialist as well, having crazy proficiency over two specific roles within a competitive team. 30 being a theory craft for himself seemed like more of the practical approach, was a troll. I respect that, really got into people's heads, and was a guy that definitely had the execution specialist skill down as well. And same with Nemo. Nemo had theory craft and execution specialist the same as 30, and I do remember Nemo, being toxic in his own way. It's kind of cool, but all competitive is toxic, so it's a given. And it's great because when I look back on it, and in my honest opinion, I do uphold 30's prime team as literally in the GOAT conversation for best Dauntless teams of all time. Those guys were next level. They really, really were. And they were next level at a time where people were still on the come up. And a lot of teams were still learning. But they were so ahead of the competition, they were already implementing like so much into just jump timing that in order to truly comprehend how deep they went with that, you really need to talk to them. And it's unfortunate because I actually really wanted to touch base with 30 and see how he was doing and hopefully find a way to reach out to him. But I don't know where his Discord profile is, so I think he might have just like disappeared off the face of the earth. I have no idea. But I was able to find MV. I'm looking maybe at some point down the line I do an interview with him talk to him about the good old days of trials and see if I could, I guess, figure anything out about uh, that era of epic competition that, most people don't know, and be able to, I guess, publicize it in some cool way. But it's really cool being able to reminisce so much about the good old days, especially back at the competitive peak. And being able to see that, 30, Nemo, and Envy were just so on top of their game at a time where, everybody else was still working on theirs. Formative years. And I remember the last instance I interacted with 30, funnily enough. I guess before I kind of lost touch and essentially completely lost his Discord profile. Found him in a Ramsgate, and he had no gold crown. He was wearing full recruit gear and kind of trying to hide. I remember coming up to him being like, "Yo, what's up, man? Long time no see." And I remember he just instantly recognized me, like, "Oh, what's up, bro?" We ended up hanging out and doing a little bit of Escas, a little bit of an Esker grind, and we were just talking about the future of Dauntless. And after that, I never saw 30 come back. He's come back in a way that, made it seem like, oh shit, 30 has finally returned. No, never saw him officially come back. But maybe one day. Maybe one day through my journey as a, you know, newly reformed YouTube content creator, I'll be able to talk to 30 again, and maybe I'll be able to find out some cool information. Because I know I can get in contact with Nemo as well. I just need to extend the branch, and I'm already in contact with MB, so good stuff. Now, the next episode that I'd actually love to delve into, specifically within this realm of talking about the Who, is someone who actually influenced 30's team to be the way that they were, and was actually someone who was the beginning of so much. I feel like nobody really knows and nobody really understands the depth as to how much this person was able to influence this specific group trials like branch of generations. And the person I'd like to talk next episode is Joyride. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch and taking the time to listen. I really appreciate everybody coming out to support and help me out. I really appreciate all of it. But once again, guys, thank you so much for everything. And I appreciate your time. Have a great night. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care.